On today's video, we're talking about all the Transformers released for Age of the Primes and Studio Series in 2025.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're talking about the Transformers that were released in 2025 for Age of the Primes and Studio Series. And I'll explain what is being covered in a moment. Importantly though, last year I did two separate rundowns where I did the Transformers Generations rundown and I did the Studio Series, and they both performed okay. Let's see how this year's performs, because I've switched up the format a whole lot, and I hope you all enjoy it. So if you do, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell, hit the hype button if available, and leave any feedback in the comments down below. Reception to this video will decide future versions of this in years going forward. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Generations Age of the Primes figures released in 2025 at general retail in the United States before December 31st, 2025, as well as the Studio Series figures released in that same time frame. Had to release in 2025. Because Age of the Primes is not like, oh, 2025 is Age of the Primes and 2026 is another line, it's just kind of carrying forward. I decided to include everything that was released at retail up until December 31st, which means it does include Wave 4 of Age of the Primes, and it does include some of the first 2026 wave of Studio Series. You'll just roll along with me as we go along. If it's not in the video but came out recently, like Wind Charger, for example, didn't come out quite in time for the deadline. Now, there is 106 figures we're talking about, so we're going to have to get rolling on this. I will be talking, of course, about everything I have and everything I don't have. But I am specifically just covering the two main lines. I'm not talking about anything Takara did. I'm not talking about the collaborative figures or any of the side stuff. We're just going to talk about the core Generations and Studio Series lines. Which I do want to talk about the fact that Generations and Studio Series is becoming a very blurred line. Studio Series used to be just the live-action movie stuff, and then over time we've been getting more of the G1 stuff from the 86 movie. Now we're getting video games and now apparently comic books. So I don't really think there's really any difference between these two toy lines anymore, and Hasbro seems to have given that game up. The packaging is basically the same now for both lines. The backs are a little different. The side banners are pretty much the same. Like, the only thing that makes Starscream here Studio Series is he has a blue banner instead of a gold one. I'm seeing a future where Studio Series is just folded into Generations and this becomes one line, which is something I kind of hope for, because one of the frustrating things about the year as a collector was the release schedule. It was relentless. And by relentless, I mean relentless. See, when you have two separate lines, the idea could be that you stagger them. You would do a Generations wave, a Studio Series wave, back and forth. Studio Series typically has less figures per wave, so that would make it easier for them to kind of stagger out the line. Unfortunately, probably due to the global trade situation of 2025, that did not go according to plan. Hasbro had laid out this chart and they'd mapped it out, and the team had announced, like, oh, here's the approximate release schedule for all these things in their fan streams, and then it all just kind of went out the window. We were getting people finding a wave of Generations, Wave 2 of Age of the Primes was getting found in Canada before they even were officially revealed by Hasbro or put up for pre-order. There was, I think, our first reveal of Generations, or Studio Series Mixmaster. He was revealed by someone finding him in a Canadian Walmart, not, again, from Hasbro. And then Takara would jump the gun on some reveals, so it was kind of like, what is part of what wave? When is things going up? A lot of communication difficulties. The trade situation is one thing, Hasbro firing a bunch of people and having a lack of communication is another. And then there was also, like, the unfortunate wallet-destroying week where all the pre-orders came in for both Commander class figures, which was Silverbolt and the 2-pack of Constructicons, and the Titan class Star Convoy. I got charged for those within a 72-hour period when they were supposed to be spread out on different months. And that sucks. This is the same issue going on with Marvel Legends and with G.I. Joe and with Star Wars. The dates don't date. As a big company, Hasbro should be able to say, okay, this is coming in sooner, a lot sooner than when they say. For example, this Generations wave that I mentioned, the Age of the Primes Wave 4 that's in this video, shouldn't even been in this video because the pre-order date said March. I got mine in December, like early December. That is too much of a gulf between when it was projected and when it was released. And this is, like people have said, Hasbro doesn't put the dates on pre-orders of when the pre-orders are first going to show up, but instead it's the saturation date pre-orders, like when they're going to be available at most retail. But then again, that wasn't actually true for Generations Wave 4 because that wave was out in December in a lot of stores. I saw it while my pre-orders were being processed, so I couldn't just buy Razor Claw off the shelf. So there is a lot to take a factor into this, but the scheduling needs to be fixed. I think the overall number, 106 figures between 2 lines, that's pretty good. It's actually pretty healthy. I didn't feel overwhelmed at any point, but the unfortunate part is that we really need to get the schedule locked down. Because what constantly kept happening was that we would not just get, oh, here's one wave of Transformers and it's a few months early. It was like, here's the Age of the Primes wave, and then 2 days later, here's your Studio Series wave. Or a week later, you'd have another wave. And so it's like hitting you back to back. And so the 2-line system, you know, in a normal thing, like if you're talking about like a line that has, you know, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 2 is not going to come out at the exact same time as wave 1 unless you really screwed something up. But when you have 2 separate lines that are basically the same thing, you can have Studio Series Wave 1 come out at the same time as Age of the Primes Wave 1 because they're 2 different lines. And they're only supposed to be about a month apart. It becomes an issue. So this is something that I think really needs to get fixed, especially because the other big issue that hit Transformers fans globally, because I know the price has been bad a whole lot, but this hit the US fans in particularly hard, the price increases. Halfway through the year, Hasbro announced a price increase on all their products. Now, here's the thing. I understand the global trade situation, prices on stuff went up. So I understand deluxe class figures raising from $24.99 to $27.99. That feels like a natural increase. It's what Marvel Legends went through. That feels like it's conducive to what's going on. What I don't understand is Voyager class figures going from $35 to $43. That is a huge leap. An $8 leap in price is not equivalent to anything else going on at Hasbro nor other companies. Why did Voyagers get raised $8? Conversely, Leader class, which is the highest of the normal price points, went from $55 to $60. That also is in the same percentage ratio as the deluxe increase. Same for Commander class. They went from 90 to 100. That is also in the same price ratio. Why did Voyagers jump almost double the price ratio? That is what I'm concerned about. And here's the thing. We've seen already with retailers like Target and Walmart, they're not sticking to these prices. Target even put up exclusives that are coming out in 2026 at lower prices because they know that these are not going to sell at the prices they are. Transformers prices were already kind of high, but there is the factor of parts counts and paint and also like the overall like complexity of Transformers versus normal action figures. But the jump again, I think, is pretty much hurt every collector. And with the availability issues that Transformers also faces, where some figures, if they're hotly in demand, you either got to get it or it's gone, it's becoming a bit of a mess. And I think a lot of people are feeling burned out on the collecting experience. So going forward into 2026, Hasbro, if you're watching, fix the schedule, fix some of these prices. I know as a company you don't want to lower prices, but that Voyager price jump was ridiculous, especially with some of the Voyagers coming up, like the Studio Series Alpha Trion, that doesn't even seem to have any more complexity than a deluxe figure, and is also that not much bigger, so why is he $43 instead of a much cheaper price? That's kind of how it go. And also, I will say, if you have a price increase and you raise the quality of the figures and you include more accessories and stuff, people won't feel it as bad as if you're charging more for something lesser than what they got at a lower price. Okay, so with all that said, that's kind of the biggest things. Quality control is still something that's kind of wishy-washy depending on figures. I have one figure in particular I had really rough QC with, but overall it's actually been pretty solid. I feel like, you know, that's one good thing that Transformers have been doing is the quality for the most part. I will say that there are some joint styles like the mushroom peg system that don't work out for everybody, and we will talk about that when we get to Onyx Prime. But on that note, let's get to the actual way this video is going to be structured. Past rundowns in typical format I do is I'll do wave by wave in release order. However, this time I thought it'd be much more interesting to cover section by section. We're going to do the primes. We're going to do the combiners together. We're going to do individual universes. We'll do a G1 section, a Beast Wars section, for example. So that way we kind of get a broader view of the year in terms of the distribution of characters across multiple categories and the different universes they come from, as opposed to just going wave by wave, which is a little bit more standard. So I hope you enjoy that, and let me know if you do or you don't. Let's get to it. Let's go talking about Age of the Primes and Studio Series in 2025. So we're going to begin our look at the 13 Primes with Solus Prime. She is a deluxe class figure that turns into a very interesting car that I don't like that much. Robot mode-wise, though, Solus is very impressive. She, of course, has the Forge of Solus Prime. I think she looks really good. Unfortunately, she's just not quite there. There was some weird tweaks in the shoulders and the feet that kind of make her not a satisfying transformation, but she looks cool overall. Next, we have Alchemist Prime, who turns into a pretty generic little truck mode. I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't seem like it has anything distinctive. But his robot mode has got a lot more personality, not only unique head sculpt that kind of invokes a scientist look, but also the two lenses that are swords as well that allow him to do his alchemy. I think that's pretty cool, though I do wish his colors were a little bit more interesting. Now, Micronus Prime is where things start to heat up because we have what is essentially the Minicon Puck from the beginning of Transformers Armada, which turns into a very Robots in Disguise 2015 styled Minicon of Micronus Prime, who's kind of representing all of the Minicons here. He then also includes a single-wheeled unicycle bike that he can ride that looks pretty awesome, though I wish there was some kind of kickstand to display because it doesn't hold up on its own. And then Micronus can combine with the bike for his Apex Armor mode, which has a lot more personality and a lot more posability. I think this is a really cool concept, and it's almost a really great figure, though just a couple things that didn't quite work out. Now, Quintus Prime is kind of connected to the Quintessons of the Transformers lore and has a really cool, interesting spaceship mode. Overall, his robot mode is very interesting and reminds me a bit of Botanica from Beast Machine, so hopefully that's a retool in the future. And I really like that he comes with the Ember Stone from Earthspark, as that's kind of the series that used Quintus Prime the most. Prima Prime has probably one of the most boring truck modes to me. I just don't find anything that interesting about it, and the stark white color makes it seem like an Arctic vehicle with none of the actual fanciness. His robot mode is pretty nice, though white, gray, it's a bit generic, sword with a matrix in the hilt, we've seen that before. He is based on one of the G1 character designs from the cartoon, and that may be adding to his bit blandness. Now, as part of the line, there was a new Alpha Trion in his younger state. I have the older state Alpha Trion, and I'm pretty happy with that and didn't feel like buying this new one, though I do think the book accessory for the Covenant of Primus is really awesome. And now we come to the most interesting of the Primes, Amalgamus Prime, who I'm starting in robot mode, where he's got 4 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a couple extra ocular eyes with a cool pickaxe, because this guy's all about vehicle mode configurations. This is his standard vehicle mode configuration using all of his parts and pieces, which is a kind of crazy crab walker. Like I said, parts and pieces. Because different parts of his limbs can form into 4 different vehicles here with different shapes going on. And these could also be used as weaponizer weapons for other Transformers if you wish. The 3 smaller vehicles can also form its own tank to go alongside the flying drone, and this is really cool, but Amalgamus Prime is all about imagination and creativity. So here's my take on an alt mode for Amalgamus Prime. He has got the spirit of the transformation cog, which is in his head, and I think giving him something unique and interesting that doesn't conform to any other standards is pretty great. Megatronus the Fallen, which of course is the Fallen Prime, has a pretty sweet tank mode with all that extra fire. And for any fans of the War Within comic, this is a figure we wanted for a long time. They've taken the design of the Fallen from that comic, added in some more Megatronus elements, and kind of give him the legacy of where Megatron would follow in his footsteps. And he is an excellent figure. Now we have Onyx Prime, who is a 4-legged dragon in this mode, and a 6-legged dragon in this mode, and that's pretty awesome. He's representing the Beast Transformers. He has 2 robot modes. First of all, he has a Centaur mode using 4 of the legs there, which is really cool in concept, though I find it to make him a little short and disproportionate, which is a bit underwhelming. But his overall robot mode is pretty cool with the extra hooves and the overall bestial details. I like that he's got all of these things combined together, and the crossbow look is awesome. Unfortunately, QC hit this guy pretty bad on me. His hips are super loose, which is not helping his stability at all. He kept slipping on me the whole time. His arm shoulder panels cop off really easy, and his arms fall off the mushroom pegs without much effort. The Titan class this year is the 13th Prime, known as Star Optimus Prime, who is based on Star Convoy from the Japanese side of Transformers. His truck mode is really impressive. He also has the base mode, which is from the original toy and stories, though some of the parts clash into each other. But his robot mode is very impressive with a really cool gun accessory and awesome new effect parts. Plus, he comes with the Micromaster Hot Rod with the trailer, as was in the original toy, and that's a really cool inclusion. I did a full video on Star Convoy and all the details behind his lore, so go check that out for more. So if we include Vector Prime from Legacy, we're only missing Liege Maximo and Nexus Prime to finish the Primes, and those will be coming soon. I really like the Primes as an idea. A lot of these are trying new things in Transformers, trying something fresh and giving spotlight to characters that have only been referenced before and not fully fleshed out. And overall, I think they were fairly successful in this experiment, though a lot of these have a lot of bumps and edges because they're trying new things, and I'd rather they try and not quite succeed instead of not try at all. The main combiner team for Age of the Prime's first year was the Aerialbots, and we're starting with Slingshot, who is a plane, and then he turns into a neat robot. The Aerialbots have not been the most exciting of characters. Up next we have Air Raid, who is a black jet, looking very sleek and cool, and his robot mode is also quite interesting. A problem with the combiner team, sometimes they get very similar. But Fireflight does stand out for having a red color scheme that kind of breaks the pattern a little bit. But him being a repaint of Slingshot with a couple new changes makes him feel a little generic. And then we have Skydive rounding out the main Aerialbots. And honestly, I actually really like his robot mode. Out of all the Limbots, he has the most distinctive one. Just like with Menasor, the commander class is the Torso in the form of Silverbolt, who has his normal jet mode. And he has an extended super jet mode for all the extra parts you'll need for the combination. And Silverbolt on his own is very nice and a really good representation of the character from the cartoon. His extra bits do form a battle turret mode if you so wish. So all 5 Aerialbots here together look pretty good for what they're representing, which is of course the original G1 cartoon. As figures, they do feel very similar. But let's combine these 5 with the help of all those extra parts. And here we have Superion, who I really like. At first, when they first revealed him, I was a little iffy on it, but now that we've seen the full thing, I'm into it. I really like the figure, I love the stability, and I love the overall structure that the skeleton system provides these combiners. Kicking off the Constructicons over in Studio Series is Scrapper, who is blowing out my white balance because he's a fluorescent green. That being said, he's got a really nice robot mode, and splitting up the Constructicons means they got a little bit more budget to each of them, and that's made them better figures. Bone Crusher, for example, has always suffered a little bit due to being an arm, but overall it's pretty good. Though I would have sacrificed the accuracy for purple legs for consistency in Devastator and also to break up his color scheme. He is so bright green. Interestingly, 2 of the components are packed together, first being Hook, who has a working crane ladder. And I actually really like the way his robot mode turned out. It's nice and proportional and looks really good overall. Hook's packmate Long Haul is also very nice, providing a great dump truck mode, which also has a trailer, which dump trucks don't normally have, but this was to make sure that Long Haul wasn't entirely crotch. Because look at that, he is actually a fully formed proportional robot, separate from being Devastator's waste piece. Next we have Scavenger with his working bucket, which is always nice to see. And a very nice robot mode overall, though I do find that with him and Bone Crusher, the legs can be a little stiff to pose. Then rounding out the team is Mixmaster, who looks pretty good. He doesn't have a rotating barrel, but that works better for the transformation later. And overall, I do like his robot mode, but his feet are very strange. Sometimes this happens with guys that have to combine. As a whole, these 6 Constructicons feel like better individual figures than the Combiner Wars version by a long shot. And of course, we're going to combine them together into Devastator. It's kind of the whole point of buying them all, but we do need to add the extra crotch that was the trailer for Long Haul. And I gotta say it, I wasn't originally thinking I needed a new Devastator, but I'm pretty happy with this one. The only thing I wish is that Bone Crusher's legs were purple, so that way there'd be some symmetry to the torso design. Other than that, I'm really happy with the stability, the overall construction, and the just stellar look of the character, plus a more accurate size to match the new combiners. Now, Age of the Prime started its second combiner team before finishing its first, and so we have Vortex from the Combaticons inexplicably coming out between the Aerialbots. But as a figure on his own, he's pretty good. I think the arm kibble's a little annoying, but other than that, he's got a cool look to him and overall a sleek design. The team continue with Blast Off, of course the classic space shuttle and the mix of military vehicles, but I really like the overall space shuttle mode, it looks good. But I'm really mixed on the robot mode. The cone head hands are unavoidable due to the design, but they gave him a head design based on an animation error instead of his actual model. Interestingly, Brawl is a Voyager class figure, which we haven't seen with the combiner limbs so far, but he's a pretty beefy tank mode. And while he is roughly deluxe size, the engineering's pretty nice, and he has a really cool figure to pose on his own. 2026 will bring us Onslaught and Swindle to combine to Bruticus, and we will take a look at those in the future. Our first G1 character is one who doesn't appear much in fiction, which is Venom, formerly known as Venom, a nice cicada robot. He's actually the last of the deluxe Insecticons, and while the other three were able to be retools of the regular Insecticons, Venom had to have his own new mold, and I'm really curious to see where this will pop up again. We got another Junkion to add to the Legacy Junkion army with Jalopy. We finally got Sure Shot with Spoil Sport, who's been in listings for a long time, and it's nice to finally get him in all of his bright yellow, red, and orange glory. And I'm very happy to see he does include his Target Master, which is something that we were missing for a long time with the Target Masters, though the plastic quality did take a hit to fit all this into the budget, because he just kind of feels a little cheaper than the others. From the Amazon 2-packs, we have Carnivac, who is one of the Beast Pretenders, and it's a very smart reuse of Weird Wolf, and I think he looks pretty great. I'm not going to use his robot mode as much because his beast mode is kind of what he's known for, but it is a nice beast mode, and I love the cocky smirk he has on his head. His pack mate is Physitron, previously known as Iron Fist, who's a retool of Hound. And he's actually a very nice retool of Hound. It feels like a new figure, even though there's not that many new parts, and I just overall like the color scheme and the way he plays, and surprisingly one of my favorite figures of the year. The next Amazon pack was Sandstorm and Slugslinger. Sandstorm now has his cartoon head, Slugslinger is back out again and does now include a Target Master, which is great to see. And the last pack of the year has Spinister and Topspin. Spinister is a repaint of the Siege figure, which now includes Target Masters, which are reused from Windsweeper, and then we have Topspin, who is the Diaclone colors to match the Twin Twist from a couple years back. There was a Generation Selects release of Trypticon in Full Tilt, a new version of the Titan that's now in cartoon colors, which is great to see, though I do wish they added a Gigastorm horn so it could double as Beast Wars' second Gigastorm, because I would have actually bought it at that point. Target's multi-pack this year was mostly G1 themed, and we have Ultra Magnus based off the toy version G1 Optimus from a couple years back, except now in all white. This is my first time handling this mold, and honestly, I really like it. It's kind of a fun update to the original G1 toy proportionately, and it's a lot of fun to pose around. Also in that pack was Bumper, who got his first ever toy as a retool of the Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. He's got a unique head this time, he's got his name on the packaging, Bumper has moved from weird variant all the way up to actual character. Also in that pack is Horrible with Kreb, the last of the headmasters that goes with Fangry and Squeeze Play. Nice to finish that team. I really like him overall. I definitely like his beast mode more. It's a very interesting reuse of Skullcruncher, and honestly, I'm glad they finally finished this team. Walmart had a retro line of G1 mini bots using their deluxe molds and adding more toy-etic flair. Bumblebee kind of fails at that because they didn't give him a new head. But Gears got a toy-accurate head, which is pretty good, and a good way to get Gears if you missed him before. Brawn got the same treatment, new head, as well as a more retro look in general. But of course, the one that made the biggest splash was Sea Spray, who's never been made before in the deluxe format for the current lines, and he's pretty great. This is a good boat mode. And this is an excellent robot mode. I imagine somewhere down the line we might get him again with a new head that's maybe slightly more cartoon accurate, but this honestly is going to work for me because his head's not that different between the toy and the cartoon. The G1 lineup this year was very interesting. Between the two combiners and then all of this stuff, it's a good variety covering the entirety of G1 and not just the first two seasons, which is really nice to see. Now, of course, the 1986 version gets its own subset in this video because it has its own subset of Studio Series, and it started off with a repackage as, which unfortunately is still the one with the clear plastic that is incredibly fragile, and not the no clear plastic version from the 5-pack that everyone really wanted out again. We also got Studio Series 86 Galvatron, who is a direct repaint of the Kingdom figure, no battle damage this time in the proper purple color. It was weird. Why did it take 3 times to get to this? Probably the biggest deal in Studio Series 86 was Megatron. We finally got a new Megatron in G1 style, and he has a brand new tank mode that's very reminiscent of his gun mode, and I think a great design overall. But if you want his gun mode, he includes an accessory that can be used with other Decepticons, which is his gun mode in a non-specific version, but it looks good to me. But this robot mode is one of the most perfect things I've ever seen out of Transformers. I have zero complaints, also for the fact that you can see zero kibble on this guy. If you did not know he turned into a tank, the only thing that might give you an indication is the back of his legs. Everything else is hidden. It's so clean, I am so impressed. If you missed him before, G1 Grimlock came out again in Studio Series Leader Class. Target got a multi-pack that was kind of interesting. It starts with a new version of Perceptor that's pretty much just the same as the old version. No clear plastic this time, and they did slightly tweak the chest so that it has a panel to cover his head in his alt mode. We get a new release of Rat-Bat, which is basically the Siege mold with the extra booster added. And there was nothing wrong with that Rat-Bat, so I'm glad they just added the thing that was missing from the previous one. And then of course there's the bummer, which is if you have all that previous stuff, you gotta rebuy it so you can get Ram Horn. I was in that boat. But at least Ram Horn finishes off Blaster's cassettes in at least one form so far, so we've got that going for us. The first 2026 86 figure leaked out in 2025, which was Soundwave. He was hitting stores. And this is a very good tape deck mode, and overall, pretty happy with it. Soundwave is my favorite Transformers character, so I'm a little picky sometimes. Like, I don't like that the gun barrel is turned because of the extra design to the gun. I'm hoping to mod that later. I think the color is weird. Every time I photograph it, it comes out brighter than it is in hand. In hand, he's a nice shade of blue that I think is very animation accurate. That being said, I'm not a big fan of the Laserbeak, Buzzsaw, and Ravage, particularly in their cassette modes, which are downright pathetic. Those don't even look like tapes. You got a very perfect tape deck mode here, and these tapes that don't look like tapes, which means I never want to put them in his chest because they don't look like tapes. They're gappy, they're weird. As a whole, I'm not a big fan of Laserbeak and Buzzsaw. I think they're just too flat, they don't have any aerodynamics, and they just don't work for me. Ravage is pretty fun, I like him, though I'm still trying to figure out why it's so hard to make a proper Ravage, because I don't like the way that the blasters on the hips are floating so far above the hips. Overall, this is a mixed bag for me. I really love the Soundwave with some minor tweaks, like could he actually reach the button? Couldn't quite do that. And the gun barrel being the wrong direction does bug me. The cassettes could be better. I'm probably swapping them out for earlier ones in the line. The 86 lineup here feels like we're running towards the end. We almost done. We have almost every major character completed. Of course, the movie anniversaries in 2026, and we're going to get a ton more. G2 releases this year were just repaints for Dinobots, so we got Grimlock as a leader class release, and they repainted Wheelie to look like the old storybook of Wheelie in the Forest, so that's pretty cool. And there was also a Generation Selects 2-pack of Snarl and Slug in their G2 colors, and a Swoop and Sludge pack will be coming later. So my beloved Beast Wars was almost not going to have any 2025 figures until Quick Strike came out early. And here is Quick Strike looking frickin' fantastic in the fused Scorpion and Cobra mode. Fusors are such a great concept and they make great toys, and I'm glad that Silverbolt was fantastic and Quick Strike is also great. Sadly, there's no more Fusors that were in the cartoon, but I'd love to see them come back to them when they finish the cartoon cast. And also coming out early to make it into this video was Big Convoy, who actually retained his name of Big Convoy from Japan. He's from Beast Wars Neo and the leader of the Cybertrons. You can simulate his attack mode, because that was kind of a thing with the Beast Wars Neo toys, is they'd have an attack mode in Beast mode, which is pretty cool. And his robot mode is pretty solid. Some people have complained about the size, but they wanted to scale him to Lio Convoy and the others, which I'm okay with. And honestly, he's a better figure than the original in terms of the kibble distribution. I love the fact he comes with the Matrix of Leadership and it still removes out of his chest and it has the same two-handle system as the original toy. Plus, the back of him can form the giant cannon, which is awesome to see. I really like the figure overall, though having him in the $60 leader price makes him feel a little bit more expensive than he should be. These are the only two Beast Wars figures we got, but Beast Wars is celebrating 30 years in 2026, so I'm hoping we're going to get a bunch. I mean, we're just missing like a couple characters to finish out the character roster and then a few Transmetal variants, so I'm hoping we see a bunch of stuff for the Beast Wars 30th. As an RID fan, I've been lamenting the fact that everything has been repaint so far, so Skybite being an entirely new mold is like an actual revelation, and the fact it's this good is also great. It's a posable shark who turns into a gigantic robot. This guy is massive compared to other figures of his price point. He's just a Voyager, but I love it. Skybite is one of the most famous characters from this show, and they gave him a really great treatment here. Of course, one of the big deals this year was the HasLab Omega Prime, which came with Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime, looking really nice in truck mode. Looking pretty great in his standard robot mode, though the chest is not 100% accurate due to some of the transformation things. His super mode is well replicated, including a stand to help him balance. In the set as well was Ultra Magnus in his car carrier mode, looking spectacular. And they actually made Ultra Magnus' robot mode mildly interesting, which is impressive considering the original toy was just a bunch of parts that were sticking all over the place. Plus, Magnus' gun is now a character named Blue Bolt, who is a weaponizer and has a robot mode. And the combined Omega Prime even comes with the Matrix Blade, making it a pretty fantastic set. Except it's also the worst thing to happen this year. There was massive QC issues on a limited edition HasLab release where people were having issues with the chest breaking on Optimus, yellowing on Ultra Magnus, and all kinds of other things. I had to make a whole separate dedicated video where I went through all the positives of the release, but also all the QC issues that happened. And Hasbro's response to it was not the best. As an RID fan, I'm happy to finally have 3 figures that are actually based on RID and not just reusing molds from existing stuff. I hope this keeps up. I'm not super hopeful at that, but we'll see what happens. Going over to Armada, we got Red Alert, who is a very nice release because we finally got a modern update to him, and it still has the gun flip out feature from the original. In robot mode, he's pretty fantastic. Great articulation, great details. He's got everything the original toy had, minus the disc launcher in the chest, which is good because that means it makes it more animation accurate now. The Fall Convention exclusive this year was Nemesis Prime, who was of course a repaint of the Commander Optimus Prime trailer cab. In the cartoon, we just saw the cab of Nemesis Prime outside of one shot where the trailer appeared, so I'm totally cool with him not coming with the trailer, especially for the price point. And he's really cool. I love the damaged look on the head, makes him different from Optimus. And if you wanted to make the super mode using Optimus's trailer, you totally could. They still painted everything accurately to match the color scheme of Nemesis Prime. Now, frustratingly, he comes with Runway, Sonar, and Jetstorm, the 3 mini-cons that make the Starsaber. These are nice updates for cartoon accuracy, but Jetstorm's head is too big, and so you gotta be careful with the tail fin coming over his head because several people cracked and broke theirs by not moving it at the exact precise motion. That head didn't need to be that big, it could have been shrunk. And of course they do combine into the Starsaber as we saw in the toy line and as we saw in the show. It's pretty good overall and holds together. But why were they packed together? Nemesis Prime never used the Starsaber, he actually used the dark version, the Vorpal Saber, so it's kind of a weird inclusion. And also, if you just wanted the mini-cons and no Nemesis Prime, you're spending $90 on a set to get them. I wish we could get mini-cons outside of being pack-ins with convention exclusives.
Our worlds are in danger. To save them and the galaxy.
All Cybertron got this year was a pair of Walmart exclusives, the first being Excellion, the red repaint of Hotshot. It's that same figure, but in red. And Sideways, who was a very accurate recreation of the original toy, but taking away all the clear plastic and spring worries from before. He's a very good-looking robot mode. The faction switch gimmick in his arm weapon is actually manual now instead of being tied to a spring, which is awesome. And honestly, I got nothing bad to say about this guy. He really fixes all the issues of the original. Our Unicron Trilogy lineup this year was kind of small. We've been getting a lot in recent years, and I'm hoping that we'll get more in 2026 because it's kind of just a little touch here and there. For the original movie universe, Studio Series Hatchet finally released as her first being a canceled Target exclusive. He finally made it out here. Q finally made it into the line after years of him not having a proper toy. The KSI Widow came out of concept art hell and came back looking pretty spectacular. And Age of Extinction Optimus Prime got a fairly good update which has removable kibble for more accuracy. Shockwave came back out once again with all of his accessories intact. For some reason, Overload was re-released as a Target exclusive, but not the rest of the movie Constructicons, so he sat around because people were like, well, why get just him? There was a multi-pack of the Revenge of the Fallen Decepticons of Megatron, the Fallen, and Soundwave to go with the Autobot pack from the previous year. And then we got Nemesis Prime from the last night, which is so similar to the Age of Extinction Optimus, I couldn't tell that they were that different. I think they could have spaced them out a little bit more. For animated, we got Fugitive Waspinator, which is the original version of Waspinator when he was just known as Wasp. This is Bumblebee with a new head and a new paint scheme, but that's better than any of the prior canceled Wasp toys would have been. We also got animated Wreck-Gar, which was annoyingly just a head swap from Trashmaster of the Junkions, so he doesn't fit the animated aesthetic at all outside of the head. And while the Target pack was 3/4 G1, the fourth one in there was Nemesis Prime from animated, which wasn't actually a character. But I will say the animated Optimus mold is great, and putting the Nemesis Prime colors on it makes a cool figure. We didn't get any main characters for animated this year, which was a bummer because we're really close to finishing the main Autobot team. It kind of just felt like a little bit of an off year. For the Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast movie universe, we have a new Bumblebee from the Bumblebee movie, looking pretty great for that VW bug. We also got Double Punch, which is one of the other colors of Scorponok drones from Rise of the Beast. Rise of the Beast Optimus finally escaped from being a Target exclusive and was released in normal Studio Series packaging. And we got Ape Link, who appeared for about 2 minutes in the Rise of the Beast opening scene, and it was a nice retool of Optimus Primal. Transformers 1 finally got its first really good figure in the form of B-127, also known as Bumblebee. This car mode is really great, and I love all the weapon options. And his robot mode is solid, and he's a fun transformer to transform, which is not something I can say about the other 1 figures. Badassatron pulled it off, though. And when I mean the others are a disappointment, I do mean Elita 1. We waited practically a whole year for the movie, and this figure sucks. The vehicle mode is not interesting. The robot mode is completely out of balance. She's got very thin limbs, yet she has a gigantic torso backpack thing going on. Like, not only is this a ton of stuff with no way to really break it down or condense it, everything has to be popped in exactly at certain levels where certain pins into certain places, and that makes her kind of loose and floppy. We also got Starscream in the same wave, which I do like his jet mode overall. It's a little too much going on in some places, but it looks good. And the overall robot mode looks good. I do mean looks good. He can't pose for crap. Unfortunately, he's really limited in articulation, no ankle tilts. It's kind of a bummer. Also, his head is super distracting because it keeps flopping all over the place and it's hard to plug in. That and his giant lips are very distracting. Sentinel Prime is pretty solid as being one of the only Voyagers in the 1 lineup in a very nice jet mode, which I don't think we saw that much. His main robot mode is got that cocky look on him, and he looks pretty interesting. I think he's a really cool looking figure. And very interestingly, they gave him a second robot mode that's like a power-up attack mode that was probably in some concept art that didn't make it to the final film, but hey, more features to the figure means he feels more like his price value. So pairing these up with Optimus and Megatron from the previous year, and sadly I think Bumblebee is the only good one from Transformers 1. Sentinel Prime is really close to being good. He's got some weird shoulders. It's a bummer, but we'll see how things turn out. For the War for Cybertron video game, which still isn't available to play in current consoles, but yet they keep making toys for it, we have Skywarp, who is Starscream in new colors with a new weapon. We got Ironhide, who's Ratchet in new colors with a new weapon. And we have Thundercracker, who's Starscream in new colors with a new weapon. Then Optimus Prime came out again with some minor paint tweaks at Target, and Megatron followed the same format. Now for our other game you can't play, but there's still toys of, we have Devastation with Optimus Prime, who's a deluxe class figure that I heard wasn't amazing. It doesn't look the best either. At Target, we got a new release of Sideswipe's Earth mode, which was good for those of us that didn't get it, or the ones that wanted no clear plastic, like me. And overall, I like him pretty much close. For some reason, he has Red Alert's head instead of Sideswipes. I kind of just let it slide, because from a distance, I can't even tell, but kind of a weird thing that happened. Also, Wheeljack came out again. He's not the same as the 5-pack. His paint scheme is slightly tweaked, and he comes with a couple new weapons, but pretty nice overall. And in a cool twist of fate, we got 2 new troopers with the Elite Seeker and the Ground Soldier. The Seeker is a redo on the Coneheads, and the Ground Soldier is based on Run Amok, so pretty awesome. From the Gobots universe, Crasher was re-released, now escaping from a Walmart exclusive to being a normal retail figure. And from the Line universe, which was all repaints, comes one of my favorite color schemes of all time, which is Razor Claw, taking Tigerhawk and making him evil. It's all the cool color schemes, it's all the cool design of Tigerhawk, but it's in Razor Claw colors. And I've been wanting this ever since they announced Tigerhawk, and I'm happy to finally complete my pairing. In a surprise twist of fate, we actually got a retool of Red Alert as Flatline from the IDW comics, who now has another hand and a new head, which is pretty cool. Heatwave from Rescue Bots got a nice new Voyager figure, which is the best use of the Prime Bulkhead mold so far. And the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive was based on the Energon universe with a new cartoon-style Jetfire, as well as Solila and Darak from Void Rivals in G.I. Joe O-Ring style. I hope those two get like a G.I. Joe classified style release to go with the Cobra Law figures we've been getting. This is a great set if you wanted to pay the extra money. I already got a Jetfire, and I'm hoping those other 2 characters will come out in another form. Here's my top 10 favorites of the year, not necessarily a ranking of the best, but just the ones I like the most. Honorable mention goes to Studio Series Soundwave because I really like the Soundwave. I just am not feeling the cassettes. Alright, number 10, Razor Claw. Had to be on the list, put him low because he's just a repaint, but I just love this color scheme. I'm so happy he exists now. Bring on Cryotech, I've been waiting for that one. Number 9, Physitron. Surprised me. I was not that big of an Iron Fist fan, and yet this figure just kind of won me over. Number 8, The Fallen. I love this design, so just getting a figure of this and it being this good, it's obviously going to make the list. Number 7 is Quick Strike. Got to represent my Beast Wars, and he is so nice. Number 6 would be Studio Series Devastator. I was actually blown away at how good this was compared to the previous effort, and I'm really liking him. Number 5, Star Optimus Prime. He may not be the best in some aspects, but I've wanted a Star Convoy for so long. Number 4, Amalgamus Prime. For me, by far the most interesting of the Primes and absolutely a highlight. He's just so weird. I really like him. Number 3, Big Convoy. I mean, we're finishing out the 3 leaders of the Maximals from the 3 different shows, so perfect. Love it. Number 2, Studio Series Megatron, because my God, just look at him. That's like the perfect Megatron figure. I feel like I'm satisfied for the rest of time. And number 1, of course, is Skybite. As an RID fan and as a fan of good toys, this guy is just so good, especially for his price point. He's incredible. I'm just blown away at how good he is. So that does it for the year in review. I thought it was a pretty interesting year. I don't know if it was the best year we've had of Generation stuff, but I do think that they've done a great job at diversifying the lineup. We definitely aren't as G1 heavy as we used to be. It really used to be G1, and then occasionally you get somebody else. But we got a lot more variety going on, which I think is excellent. Of course, G1's still going to be prominent. They do have the most characters out of any group of Transformer stories, so it makes sense. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in 2026. I hope things continue to improve, and I hope that with these price increases, we can get some more value back into the figures. It's really just kind of a bummer when you spend 28 bucks on a figure and you're like, wow, I don't even think this was worth the 22 it was just a couple years ago. That's a big killer of motivation. Also, I will say, repetitive characters is still a problem. They said they were going to be working on fixing that, but we still get way too many of just Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee, Starscream. I didn't cover those in this video because they were repetitive, but we got like multiple sets of them in other sublines that weren't in the video. And man, it gets a little repetitive when you start seeing the same characters over and over and over again. There's so many Transformers characters. There's hundreds. We don't need to keep going back to the same exact well all the time. But that being said, I am looking forward to seeing what Transformers does next year, and if you want to see another rundown like this next year for the 2026 Transformers releases, be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, the notification bell, hit the hype button if it's available to you, and leave a comment down below. All that stuff will help make sure a 2026 rundown happens. These take a lot of work to put together, so I want to make sure that the video is performing to kind of reward all that effort and keep the channel going and not tank the algorithm. It's a tricky business here. So if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord server in the link below. You can also join as a channel member and get perks like early access to videos and special shoutouts. Let's give some of our channel members a special shoutout. Special shoutout to all of our channel members, including Joy-Con Girl, OBY, Sherez, Michael, Captain Underpants, Randy J, Rowdy Richter, Pratham, Fez, and Mr. JH. Thank you all for your support, channel members and viewers alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can also find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for interviews, reviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, till all are one, single toy line, because there's really no reason for these to be separate anymore.